The NEET undergraduate or NEET UG exam held annually for admission to undergraduate medical courses was conducted on the 5th of May. The controversy broke last month after the results were announced. Today there were some important references to that situation in the Supreme Court. Let's take a look at what the court said.
Tough words from the Supreme Court of India on the NEET UG 2024 exam mess, as it heard a bunch of petitions demanding a retest of the crucial medical entrance exam. Chief Justice of India D.Y. Chandrachud asked the government why it was in denial about a paper leak, saying it was clear the sanctity of the exam had been compromised. The court said it could order a retest if the leak beneficiaries were not identified. The court, however, sounded a note of caution, saying a retest would be the last option since lakhs of students were involved. The Chief Justice proposed a multidisciplinary panel for a comprehensive probe.
It's like clear there was a clear incident of paper leak. Hopefully this will go to the recancellation of exam. The article 14 and 16 says the justice and first should be based on equality for all. So if paper leak has happened at one place, so other people also should get that justice. So hopefully we are hopeful that this re-exam should happen and justice will come on behalf of us.
भले ही सॉलिसिटर जनरल और एनटीए इस बात कह रहे थे कि पेपर लीक प्रूफ नहीं हुआ है, पर सीजीआई साहब ने बार-बार ये बोला कि हम ये सारी चीजें दिखा रही है कि पेपर लीक तो हुआ है, अब इस बात को आप डिनाई मत करो.
During the hearing, the Supreme Court stressed a retest could only be ordered once the extent of the leak was known and also once the court got a sense if there was sufficient time. The judges did not specify how much there should be between the leak of the questions and the conduct of the exam.
The Chief Justice of India and his bench said the last resort would be to conduct a re-examination for the 24 lakh students who want to apply for the NEET exam. But having said that, it would first have to determine the extent of the leak, when it happened, and the date of the conduct of the examination, and more importantly, how many students who were guilty of wrongdoing have been identified.
The Supreme Court asked the CBI to file a report indicating the status of investigation. Over 15 people have been arrested so far, mostly from Bihar and Jharkhand, with a probe by the Bihar Police's Economic Offences Unit first indicating the possibility of a paper leak. The CBI eventually took over the probe.
The court also asked the NTA that what steps have been taken to identify the center and cities where the leak took place and the manner in which the leaked question papers were disseminated. All the concerned agencies have to file their affidavit by 5 p.m. on Wednesday. The next hearing will now take place on Thursday. This is Aishwarya Jain with video journalist Rohit Vishwakarma for NDTV in Delhi.
Well, joining us now, Dr. Guru Prakash Paswan of the BJP, Bhavya Narsimurthy of the Congress Party, Praneet Mungali, who's an educator, Yashi Singh, a CUET candidate, and Anvi Gupta, a NEET candidate. Thank you all very much for being with us. Anvi, let me come to you actually first. In a situation like this, where the Supreme Court has actually said, and I quote, one thing is clear, questions were leaked. What would you as a student like? Would you like to go on and hope that there isn't a retest, or would you want a retest to take place? Anvi, go ahead.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Sir, of course, retest has been the solution and the demand of that most students take place in front of the Supreme Court. And because there has been a significant increment in the
Anvi, let me repeat my question to you. As somebody who has been impacted or affected, what do you want? A retest, yes or no?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
You want a retest?
Yes, sir.
You don't want the exam process to just continue, because a retest means studying again, time is wasted, etc., etc. Are you willing to take? Yeah, go ahead.
Yes, sir. Sir, what is my take is that if the government was, very interested in knowing the candidates who have been entered in a wrong way.
Yes.
So of course they would have been used some ways to filter out those students. They would have been interested in taking up some investigations, but still now Supreme Court is asking them to accept the paper leak. So there were no hopes from the government, and similarly we can also hope that there would be no investigation that would take place significantly. So what is left is that in the previous cases also, the paper leak, when it was done, even if the 44 students in 2015, the re-examination was conducted, even if it
All
would have
right,
been
so
skipped.
you want that re-examination? Fair enough. I think that's an important principal position. I accept the merit of that. Yashi Singh, you were a candidate for the CUET examinations, the Common University Entrance Tests. The answer key to that was delayed late. The results were delayed as well. Now the National Testing Authority says that if a student has a problem and wants a retest, they look into the grievances of the student. Do you believe that this exam, which you have taken, was compromised?
So may you repeat, can you please repeat the last part of the question?
Do you believe
It was
this
not very
CUET
audible.
exam that you took was compromised?
So it was definitely compromised. I feel with the privatizations of the agencies, I feel there has been a lot of mismanagement. The admit cards that were released, they were released a night before the exams. The centers were changed overnight. There was at the center there was lack of management. There was lack of time management, and exams require a certain peace of mind. It requires a environment that is good enough for your brain to process certain things. Like
Yes.
these complex changes overnight, it really impacts the exam and it really hampers the results as well.
No, it does. I mean, and that's the key point, isn't it? Praneet Mungali, what are we looking at over here? We're looking at the well-being of our students. Lakhs of students across the country work for years, spend whatever money they have, take exams to be told that somebody has cheated in the exam, or they may be a retest in case they want it because the exam was released, the results were released late, etc., etc. Excuses. Where does this leave these young minds?
I think it's very important firstly to recognize that specifically in the case of the NEET UG examinations, these examinations are as important to the future of the country, and the integrity of these exams is as important as the defense examinations, because we are speaking about a generation of future doctors, healers, and it's very important that from the outset that the integrity not be impugned in any way. So the question at hand really is not the extent, it's not just limited to the extent of the paper leak this year and whether or not there should be a re-examination, which the Supreme Court in the due course, it's already given a mechanism, but how do we prevent things like this in the future? And there cannot be any doubt in the mind of not just the 24 lakh students who've taken the exam this year, but the future generation of students where everyone who has to go ahead has to believe that the process is fair, it's transparent, and it's equal for all. And it's incumbent upon all stakeholders who are associated with this, whether it's the civil society, the government, and everyone else, to make sure that the process is beyond any element of doubt, that it's absolutely robust and there is no scope for any kind of malpractices.
Dr. Guru Prakash Paswan, do you believe the National Testing Agency has to be disbanded completely? I know their leadership has been changed, but do you believe it needs to be disbanded and replaced with something that works?
No, Vishnu, I think it is definitely one of the topmost priorities of the government of India right now. And we can understand this because the Honorable President of India has spoken about it in her speech. Honorable Prime Minister has went on record and said that strictest action would be taken. Even the former Prime Minister of India, Shri Deve Gowda, also went on record and has indicated the seriousness of this. But the fact of the matter remains that the government, since the controversy broke out, has come out with a high-level committee under the chairmanship of Dr. Radhakrishnan. The NTA chief, obviously, like you mentioned, have been removed, have been put on compulsory wait. We have, for the first time in the history of our country, Public Exam Prevention of Unfair Means Act 2024, which in a sense provides for 1 crore fine and 10 years of imprisonment. You are aware of the fact that the CBI has taken this investigation. So absolutely the government has taken it with a lot of sensitivity, with a lot of empathy. But the Supreme Court has also mentioned a very important thing in today's observation, that a retest could be the last option. In a sense, obviously there are some indications, but is there a presence of a pan-India malpractice?
No, but isn't that, Dr. Paswan, really the problem? That here we have the Supreme Court of India and the Chief Justice saying, in the interest of lakhs of students, that we really don't want to cancel these exams. We just have to see whether it's limited or not, while at the same time saying it is compromised, let's accept it. At the end of the day, it's quite possible for the Supreme Court, with no option but to say that no, let the exam results remain. What does that feel for all those students that some cheated and have gotten away with it? Let's face it.
No, Vishnu, like I said, if you look at the observations of the Supreme Court today, essentially the Supreme Court and the Government of India, they are on the same page. The future of more than 24 lakh students, it is the topmost priority for the Government of India. The Prime Minister has said on multiple occasions. But we have to understand, and we are no one to comment upon the sanctity or the independence of the exam agency unless the investigation report is out. For the sake of couple of students, you cannot put the future of more than 24 lakh students into darkness.
And that's exactly why, Dr. Paswan, I'm just making the point. We are trying to protect in our country lakhs of students. But the fact of the matter is, we will let go of what we know to be the truth. We will let go of the fact that people cheated and they have gotten away in this process. No, the exam has been compromised.
No, Vishnu, that is a fundamental...
And we don't have a choice.
No, Vishnu, that is definitely a position, and to which I'm not at all disputing. But you cannot throw the baby along with the
and we can't. We can't. We have to think about these students.
Exactly.
But that's so sad, isn't it? That's my humble submission, is that it is tragic. That we have no option, that, you know, and maybe the Supreme Court has no option either.
Vishnu ji, we are equally emotionally moved. We are definitely moved, and the Government of India, like I said, is totally standing solidly with the families and the students who are amounting to more than 20 lakh. And like I said, let the Supreme Court say. The 11th of July is the...
Yeah, no, let's see what the court has to say.
11th of July is not
absolutely,
very far.
And that will be the final word. And there is
my last line.
A probe also which is going to be submitted, right?
My last line, Vishnuji, like I said, be it the removal of NTA chief, be giving the investigation to CBI, coming out with a committee of K.S. Radhakrishnan. And by the way, also, Mr. Radhakrishnan has been constantly in touch with the family of this.
But Dr. Paswan, I accept all of that. But the horse has bolted. You accept it, I accept it, the Supreme Court has said so as well. Whatever we do now, let's think about these children. 2 of them are on this program today.
You see, it's not a political question.
No, it's not. It's not a political question. It's just a reality. But one second, Dr. Paswan, hold on. Bhavya has been waiting very patiently. And you know, Bhavya, I've not really, I know you're with the Congress, but is this necessarily a political issue?
You know, this has to be a political issue. Every issue is a political issue. The government is conducting this exam and they have failed miserably. And the most important point here is, like Dr. Paswan said, Supreme Court and the government are not on the same page. The first statement Supreme Court made was, government should stop living in denial and accept that there was a paper leak. The education minister has to accept the fact that there was paper leak and not say, like, you know, there were some irregularities in 1 or 2 cases. No, that's horrible to say something like that. And for Dr. Paswan to say they are in touch with the families, are you in touch with 24 lakh aspirants' families? You know what your priority should be, the government's priority? First, to acknowledge that you have failed miserably. Second, to make sure these young minds, the 2 young girls here on this show, and the millions of young students out there, they don't lose trust on this system. By denying this, you are actually telling them that you are not going to work on this anymore.
No, but Bhavya, is the BJP necessarily denying it?
Supreme Court has very
The writing
clearly
is on the
said,
wall, Bhavya.
If you cannot
Is the
segregate
BJP necessarily
the
denying
tainted
it?
Students, no. If the Supreme Court has very clearly said, if they cannot segregate the tainted students, that means those
Then
who
there
are
will be a
involved in
retest.
corruption, then re-exam is a must. This was the statement made by Supreme Court, and we, as an opposition, it is our responsibility to be the voice of these 24 lakh students. Why would you say this is not a political question? It is a political question. Who else will become the voice of these
Okay,
students?
fair enough.
24 lakh
Dr. Paswan,
students,
respond.
if not for the opposition.
It is a
Then the
political.
government-
The opposition has to raise this issue. It affects so many students. Respond.
Vishnu, this is a slippery slope, and that is precisely the reason I said it's not a political question, because Rajasthan teacher recruitment exam, it affected more than 16 lakh students. Himachal Pradesh police recruitment scam. So the point is not that. More than 14 paper leaks happened under your party government in Rajasthan, but the question is not that.
Look at his whataboutery.
This is the problem.
Look at your
This is the problem.
whataboutery.
Rajasthan, more than 16 lakh, more than 16. Vishnu, I did not
So
speak
there
this
was
word.
a corruption
No,
that
one
happened
sec, one
under
sec.
some other government, so you're
Bhavya,
justifying it.
it's only
Are you
Dr.
justifying
Paswan didn't
this?
say a word when you were talking.
24 lakh doctors.
Vishnu.
Students were aspiring to be
Bhavya,
doctors.
Bhavya, listen,
1 lakh
Bhavya, I will
students.
come back to you, but let him speak. He didn't say a word when you were speaking. Dr. Paswan and then Bhavya, yeah.
Vishnu, I have been told and I have observed that left, right, center, your show is a very prestigious show where dignity is shown to all the panelists. But this is the true sanskar of the Congress party. It is about whataboutery. This is not the question of whataboutery. More than 16 lakh students, madam, in Congress ruled Rajasthan, more than 14 paper leaks happened. What did you do about it? For the first time in the history of our country, we have a public exam prevention of unfair means. It was clearly established that your alliance partner, Mr. Tejasvi Yadav, Rashtriya Janata Dal, he was hand in glove with the paper leak expert. The point is not that. The simple point is that the government, the opposition, the judiciary, all of us, all the stakeholders, we must stand solidly with the families of 24 lakh children. And this is the point. We have to rationally look at it. We have to rationally justify it. For the sake of certain students, we cannot. The question is about the future of 24 lakh students here and their families. When I say the committee of Radhakrishnan, there is a domain which is open for the last 10 days.
Okay.
Constantly the commission is...
Okay, Dr. Paswan, hold on for 1 second. Bhavya, go ahead.
Dr. Paswan, I'm not sure if you updated yourself before talking about Rajasthan. Our own government brought in this revolutionary bill, based on which maybe your center is bringing it now, regarding any such corruption in public recruitment, whether it is a public employer or someone from a government servant or any private person, they will be imprisoned and fined really high, literally to 1 crore rupees, or their property will be seized. Correct? Remember to do your homework before coming. That was a Rajasthan bill, and you're talking about
14 paper
Tejasvi
scams,
Yadav.
madam.
Why
14
haven't you
paper
arrested
scams.
him
You should keep in
still?
mind.
Why haven't you arrested him yet? Why are you speaking now? You spoke about big sanskar
14
that BJP has.
14
Please
paper
wait.
scams. 14 paper
Dr.
Sanskar
Paswan,
is
now
not
wait.
speaking
No,
with me.
Dr. Paswan,
That
now
was
you
your
have
word.
to
There is
Your
a personal
sanskar,
question.
maintain your
There is a
sanskar and
personal
listen to
question
me.
that I
Maintain
responded.
your sanskar and listen to me.
14 paper leaks
If it was
happened.
Tejasvi
No, Dr.
Yadav,
Paswan, 1
if it was
second.
Tejasvi
Let her make her
Yadav,
point.
Why
Yeah.
didn't you arrest him still? Instead of your whataboutery, if you have any evidence against him, he has given a statement. If you find any evidence against me, arrest me, is what he has said. What are you doing? The government is yours. In Bihar, the government is yours. Both the places where the police have arrested the culprits, your government is in power. In Gujarat, your government is in power. In Bihar, your government is in coalition with the government. And what are you saying? You are
Okay,
living
both
in
of you.
denial.
Both of you,
Sure,
hold
at
on.
least
I want to
respect
take this
young
back to the
girls
students.
in this debate.
I don't want to make
And
this
accept that
too
you are
meh
saying
between
this.
students. And I know Praneet also has a point, but let me go across to Anvi first. Anvi, when you see two political leaders from two political parties fight about education and ultimately about the future of students like you and Yashi, what does it make you feel? How do you feel?
Sir, it would be very constructive when it comes to the students. It should always be whenever discussions like this takes place, you should remove the political parameter as much as possible, and you should try to take a subject as students and think about them and work upon with each other.
All right.
Or
Think
with
as a
collaborations and
student,
all.
work with students. Yashi, when you see political leaders fight with each other, A, do you look at this as a political issue? And B, do you believe that our political leaders have a proper solution for you?
Sir, definitely every issue is a political issue, and it should be a political issue. But how are we handling that political issue is a question here. It should not be about a blame game. It should be about a constructive debate which should happen, and the political angle, keeping that aside, what we really need to focus upon is what is being hampered here. We call India a future, the future led by the youth. So if the youth is being hampered in such a way, if their future is being played in this manner, I really doubt, I really fear what the future is going to look like. So it should be a political issue, but but blame game should not be the right way of dealing
All right.
with it.
Praneet, last word to you. Go ahead.
Vishnu, I think the points that Dr. Paswan and Bhavya are making are vis-a-vis the, wrongdoing of who should have done and, what could have been done better. But what we would, the normal citizens of the country and people really deeply connected with the education sector would like to have more of a discourse to get to not just the wrongdoing in this case, to put in place robust mechanisms which can be bipartisan, which can involve all parties to make sure we never land in this situation again. A deep inquiry to make sure that the integrity of the exam in the future, a mechanism needs to be set for where the faith of the students and the faith of the country cannot be compromised, whether that needs a bipartisan dialogue to move forward. That's where more of the attention needs to be focused as well.
All right. Look, ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for being on this program.